Well, hello, hello, hello to everybody here. It's Teresa Sanderson. As always, very excited to connect with you for another episode of the Nurse Entrepreneur Spotlight. Today, we have a very special guest with us. We are featuring today Lauren Duroy. And Lauren, I just want to take a moment and welcome you to the call.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you who don't know Lauren, she actually has a business called the Institute for Functional Nurses, and she teaches nurses how to do functional medicine. She is the author of Living Between the Lines, lead professor and founder of the Institute for Functional Nurses, doctor of nursing practice, and a nurse practitioner who went from bedside practice to family practice to functional medicine. She teaches other nurses and nurse practitioners how to practice functional medicine in a no fluff and clear cut way. She additionally loves to incorporate her spiritual insights into her functional medicine, which is biblically based. I love that. Welcome again, Lauren. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure,
Extreme pleasure.
absolutely. So, I love what you're up to now, but I know that our audience is always interested in where did you start out in nursing? Can you tell us a little bit about your history as a nurse and the kind of environment you worked in before you became an entrepreneur?
Oh, absolutely. So I started out in the ICU, and that was honestly a job that I loved a lot. And then pretty much right after when I went into nursing school, I pretty well knew that I was going to do nurse practitioners. That was actually pretty much the plan. So I wasn't someone who went to nursing and then decided to go. I chose that overall route from kind of the initiative. So right when I became a nurse, I applied for the DNP program. So I was simultaneously doing
Oh.
both. And I did 4 years in the ICU on bedside. And honestly, it's probably still one of, if out of jobs, not including entrepreneurship, it's probably my favorite job that I had. I really liked doing it.
Okay.
By the end of it, by the fourth year, I will say that I thought, oh, I see what burnout is. And just mainly having to skip your lunch and work for, 13 hours straight and being on nights and not being able to allow yourself to be human gets
Mm-hmm.
really hard. And I feel like in the world of nursing, a lot of us are expected to work like a robot, but have the heart of a really caring human. And
Mm.
it burns you out because we can't keep functioning like that. So it was a great environment. I didn't have a true understanding of the nurses either young whenever I was a true nurse. It was whenever I
Mm-hmm.
became a nurse practitioner that I realized that there was a kind of a lot out there. I graduated from my doctorate, and I took over a small clinic in a rural area that was owned by the hospital. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I was the primary provider there, the only one on site. And so I did that for a while, and I really enjoyed it. I love my patients and everything, but I knew that there was so much more.
Mm.
What kind of then, I had a whole nother, I don't know if you want me to go into that part of it or not, but a whole nother level of burnout.
Oh
And
man.
it was really hard because you go from making a little bit more money, but honestly working twice as much. So
Wow.
there's this mindset tug that you have. And I was a brand new mom. So whenever I took over the clinic, I was about 4 or 5 months pregnant. So pretty soon after I took over the clinic, I had to take maternity leave. And my world really changed at that point. And I knew that I did not want to be tied to an income. And I felt kind of
Mm-hmm.
trapped. Like we
Mm-hmm.
call the golden handcuffs, where
Yep.
you have a higher income, you have a pretty good job, but you can't stop it because you have the school loans and the
Mm-hmm.
accountability, and especially to the family. And I had a family that I was, supporting. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man. Oh man. And so from that point, it sounds like, you were experiencing some burnout and it's so we talked about this just briefly. It's so paradoxical how, you elevated in your career and in your profession and you ended up in a situation where you found you were working twice as much
Hmm.
for a marginal increase in income.
Hmm.
And it's just can be very frustrating, can be very
Yeah.
frustrating. So at that point, it sounds like your mind was already going in the direction of something's going to have to give.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that transition from, traditional nurse practitioner work to entrepreneurship. What was that like for you?
Well, it's pretty terrifying. I mean, it's so it, sometimes when you first start, I feel that you don't know what you don't know. You don't know
Mhm.
how to get started. It feels like it isn't like stepping into a job where you go and then they tell you exactly what to do. You see these patients, you do those charts, you get that done.
Yeah.
There's different moving parts on it. So I knew that I wanted to do it, but I was terrified to do it. I think what really just made kind of a break for me, it was like 7:30 at night, and I was sitting there staring at my screen, trying to finish my charts. I knew my son, we only had one boy at that time. We have two now.
Mm.
I knew my boy and my husband were going to be done with dinner, and I was going to pull up into the driveway again and see the headlights hit them on the way coming in. They were already going to be in the living room, haven't already eaten dinner.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there exhausted. You're just like stared at a screen and
Yeah.
you just don't even know what to do next. So of course I did what every individual does when they're in a hard spot like that. They pull up their cell phone. And I started scrolling social. And I was scrolling social and I don't believe by coincidence I came across this post that said it was by Wayne Dyer and it said it was like one of those pretty memes and they had quoted
Mhm.
him and it said if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I thought, yeah, you're in a place where you're just not, you maybe get good information, but you're not able to really receive it. You're just
Yeah.
not in that heart. And I
Sure.
thought, well, you really don't understand my situation. I don't know how to make this better because I'm not even seeing my son more than an hour before bedtime.
Mm.
So either way, it reminded me of Romans 12:2, where uh, we're told to not look at vision with the world or eyes of the world, but to be transformed.
Mhm.
And I thought of that, but I kind of dismissed it. And then I heard, I believe it was more of God's speaking to me. Obviously, anyone
Mhm.
can believe whatever thought, but
Sure.
it felt powerful to me. And it said that, or he told me that if you lead with your human perception, you'll fall to deception. And if you lead with divine connection, you'll rise to perfection. And I thought, but I have no idea how. I have no idea what I have no idea. And I thought, originally that I felt convicted. Like
Mhm.
I was being told that I should be grateful for what I had.
Mhm.
And I carried a lot of guilt and a lot of shame around that.
Mm.
And then I prayed on it. I dove into it deeper and I really realized that, there was blessing in disguises there. And I ended up looking at different professions and
Mhm.
how they do things different. Because even though I'm not dismissing, running a clinic is hard and it takes a lot of time. But I thought there are people, it kind of hit me. There are people who own multi-million dollar businesses that are probably a lot busier than I am. What are they doing that I'm not? So then
Mhm.
I started like really doing extreme like hacking on everything and figuring out how to like time management and get charts done and my entire day, right? Not just charts, but my entire from wake up to go to bed.
Yeah.
And through that, I realized that you can, like do a lot more with your time than we're not taught these things. One of my
Mhm.
students, I ended up eventually sharing this with some clients and she said, "Why don't they teach us this in school?" And I don't know. I think a lot of things they don't teach us in school.
Mhm.
They don't teach us about
Mhm.
passive income. They don't teach us about building your own business
Right.
and the freedom that you get from that, and that you can earn passive income. You can sell courses. You can sell books. We're not told
Mhm.
these things, and you have to
Right.
switch that mindset. And so that played a big part in me making that shift and looking at things, from the hard things that you're going to can really turn into your blessing, can be your blessing in disguise.
Mhm.
And, that
Exactly.
course right there was one of my first courses. It turned into that because other people were asking, "What are you doing?" We could all see each other's
Ah.
charts and everything and who was getting.
Mhm.
And I started teaching it to other individuals. And
Mm-hmm.
so my blessing, which the enemy or the Lord always uses what the enemy intended for evil and turns it to good.
Yeah.
And you just sometimes have to like wait it out almost. And sometimes it's really hard going through those times. But
Yeah.
so that was a big mindset shift for me. Robert Kiyosaki also, I don't know if you listened to Robert
Hmm.
Kiyosaki, he
Oh,
played a
yeah.
big part in that too. I heard him talk about passive income and how he was talking about doctors,
Hmm.
but he was saying that, doctors are still tied to trading their time for money.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Because I thought,
Hmm.
I was like up and coming, going to have a six-figure
Yeah.
income. And that was, the
Yep.
holy grail. And then you
Hmm.
get hit with the realization that's not.
Yep.
So,
Dang.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like you feel bait and switched. You kind of
Yeah.
really do
Oh,
because you
yeah.
do all of the things. You work really hard to
Hmm.
have, a career that is, it is for our own benefit and because we want to do something that we're proud of, but also because we want to be sacrificial to other individuals and feel like we've made an impact on lives. We want to
Hmm.
do something that fulfills that.
Right.
Almost every nurse. I know some people, openly admit that they do it just for the money and they're not necessarily bad people, but that's not their thing. But
Right.
most generally majority of us, we go into it because we have that yearning to serve.
Right.
And then when you feel like you just can't be the robot that needs to do all of the things,
Hmm.
it causes this like rubber band effect where it just slaps you back. And
Right.
yeah,
Right. So it sounds like, you kind of eased your way into entrepreneurship, even maybe unknowingly at the
yeah,
time by just sharing with other people, strategies that were working for you in
hmm
managing your time and living a better life while continuing to be employed as a nurse practitioner. And I think it's interesting, one of the things you said, I did all the things. Um, and what I believe has happened in our country over the last couple of hundred years is that we had a model that worked well 100 years ago, right? There was a great knowledge deficit that people had if you weren't close to a university area, if you weren't close to libraries and all of these
hmm
things. So it made sense to raise up your kids, send them to school, make sure they got a college education because you didn't have a way of getting educated other than that. Today, though, with the advent of the internet and everything we
hmm
have available to us on Google, I mean, I really second guess our traditional educational system anymore, unless you want to be a nurse, a brain surgeon,
Agree so
something,
much.
something like that. But there's so much knowledge
I agree.
readily available for
hmm
people to just get started today. So what worked 100 years ago doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
suit everybody today. And I
hmm
think we need to be willing to accept that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And along those lines, I don't know, I don't know how kind of far down you go with this, but I almost so I have a bonus degree.
Uh-huh.
And where I started out in architectural engineering, and I always knew that I wanted to be in healthcare. My father is a veterinarian. He didn't want me to go into healthcare.
Okay.
And because, we know, right? We know
Hmm.
how hard it is and just emotionally on us. And so I ended up switching last minute into doing nursing. But so I ended up getting this bonus degree because I had so many hours and I got a bonus degree. And it's really funny that we don't even second guess that there's no ROI on that. There's no return of
Hmm.
investment on that. A lot of the
Hmm.
times
Yep.
that degree has never been used. I actually tried to
Wow.
use it while I was in nursing school and I still didn't get a job. And it was at the University of
Mm.
Oklahoma. So boomer sooner, but it's just a real expensive piece of paper, right? That sat on my wall
Exactly.
for a long time. And
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
don't realize that
Hmm.
there's not, and like you said though, unless you go into a specific degree, there's
Yeah.
really not a return on it. And we don't
Right.
second guess that. And it's really kind of funny you brought this up because I just, I kind of just did a post on, which I don't do post on social too often, but I did one just the other day about how we've kind of been brainwashed and we don't even realize it.
Hmm.
That
Hmm. Yep.
we've been sold this idea that that is the
Hmm.
dream, but we're being sold this dream by people who own businesses.
Exactly. Exactly. And
It's
who have
like,
a vested interest in
exactly.
us pursuing a certain path.
Yep.
And yeah, this is a whole other rabbit hole. So anybody who's
It
listening
really
or
is.
watching,
Exactly. It's like,
but
I don't know how
but
far she
it's
wants to go down
but
this.
it's an important discussion.
Yeah.
And along with it comes, okay, so you're going to go through these 12 years of school, then you're going to go to college and you're going to get a degree and you're going to work one job for 30 years and you're going to finally retire.
Right. Yeah. On that
Who
8%,
who
if
decided,
your market
who
value. Yeah.
decided all of that? Yeah. But this is a big discussion.
Yeah.
And how many of us, especially as nurses and nurse practitioners, have seen patients and their spouses finally able to retire? One of them gets brain cancer or something crazy like that. And all of their dreams for finally
Yeah.
traveling are just blown away.
Yeah.
Life is for living,
Yeah.
today. I'm 50 something. I don't abide by it anymore. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. This is the truth of today. And on a spiritual level, we were designed. Our
Hmm.
Heavenly Father, our Creator loves us.
Yes.
Our Creator loves us, and this
Deserves that
world was
time.
created
Wants
for
that
us to
time.
enjoy,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
how does all
Amen.
of this work? I don't get it.
Exactly.
Just an aside, my husband and I took an Alaskan cruise last year, and at least 40% of people on the cruise were in scooter chairs, wheelchairs, or walkers.
Yeah.
They waited too long. They couldn't enjoy the glaciers. They couldn't hike. They couldn't, you know,
Yeah.
but we put ourselves on the back burner. So I'm with you, sister. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah. If we really
Yeah.
want to get into talk about retirement, oh, I could really
Yeah, that's a whole
retirement
other thing.
funds. Not saying you
Exactly.
shouldn't do at least some. You should diversify, but yeah.
Yeah. But passive income is definitely where it's at. And so I love that's what your
Yeah.
business, that's a major focus of your business now.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah. So a
So
lot of
tell us
what
a
we
little bit
teach.
about that. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how you serve clients now and how you've been able to create more of a balanced life for
Yeah.
yourself with your business,
Absolutely.
Lauren. Yeah.
So kind of two realizations that hit with me. One, Robert Kiyosaki got that wheel kind of turning on how can I do that? Because I was like, well, I want
Mhm.
that. If other people have it, why not? Why not us,
Mhm.
right?
Sure.
Why not every nurse? Like, why not every nurse? We all live a very sacrificial career and job. Why not be able to have that extra income and that extra
Hmm.
time with your family? And just like you were saying, that's 40, 60, 70, 80 hours a week working is not what God intended for us. It's supposed
Hmm.
to go God and family first.
Yeah.
And in that order, and then career and money and those things that we're not set up that way.
Hmm.
So two things that kind of really hit home. Well, I guess a handful of things, but becoming a mom changed things for me a lot more in ways I did not expect at all. And then I realized whenever I had my first, so one thing I noticed in clinic, this has been something that's been in my back of my mind for a long time. In clinic, I'd repeat kind of the same thing over and over to patients.
Hmm.
And I had this idea, what if I started putting my information, my knowledge onto courses and people
Hmm.
could access that? Right. Now, while I was in the clinic, people are seeing me as a patient. Like whenever I was still in that transition phase, they just got the information for free.
Hmm.
But then I started thinking about the passive income and I thought you can actually help a lot more people. It can be a win-win for both
Hmm.
clients, right? Depending on your background, whether you say clients or patients to
Yeah.
be, legally correct. But they can get that information at a much lower price point than they
Yeah.
would for they pay for insurance and all of the
Hmm.
things. And then you can give them information passively.
Right.
So the first time I woke up and we were on a mini vacation, I was extremely stressed. This was before I did the transition. And the first time I woke up and I saw $300 in my account that I didn't expect to be there, is it not just like, and I'm sure you have that same exact moment.
Yeah.
It's like you realize that you're not below this.
Yeah.
And none of us are. If you're smart enough to be a nurse, you're smart enough to be an entrepreneur. Hands
That's
down.
it. Yeah.
Right?
That is it.
Yes. And then you have this realization that I worked way less for that than I did for, a portion of my paycheck.
Hmm.
Then for 3 hours, that would have been like at least 3, 4 hours of my paycheck.
Yeah.
I worked way less for that. Right.
Yeah.
There's always upfront. Like, I never want to be one of those people that it's like, giving you like fake
Yeah.
understanding of what's actually out there. Like, I don't want to manipulate stuff. Like, you have to build it first. But then once you
Hmm.
build it,
Yes.
it's there, right? It's there. You
Hmm.
have to tweak. Things break, things happen, but it's
Hmm.
nothing like running a clinic or doing a
Yeah.
12-hour shift in a med surge floor or anything like that. Like, it's not that
Yeah.
stressful.
It's not like that at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. So that's where that really kind of transitioned, is just having that passion for wanting to share this with so many other people, because you get kind of bitter that you weren't told this,
Hmm.
and that you're pushed, especially nurse practitioners especially get pushed down, like you're below in some way of
Hmm.
other counterparts and professions. And
Wow.
you just kind of want to, like, as a unit, like, show them, I guess. I mean, that's not the right energy exactly.
That's
And
honest.
but I mean, it's a part of it. And it obviously comes first on being able to have the time to commit to the Lord and to your family and everything. But
Yeah.
I think I digressed a little bit on that question. Did I answer it though?
I think so. I think so. You did great. You did great. So, what is the one piece of advice that you would share with this particular nurse? Now, this is a nurse who is teeter-tottering on becoming an entrepreneur, starting a business, going into work every day. So many nurses today, I read what's going on. They're feeling depressed, heavy anxiety up to 24 hours before the shift begins, really wanting more balance in life, just feeling like I wish I had something more, tired of missing birthday parties or children's events or whatever it may be. And what's the one piece of advice that you would give to that aspiring entrepreneur that's teeter-tottering on starting a business? What would you say?
I would say that in order to get started, you don't have to be perfect. In order to get as close as you're ever going to get to perfection, you've got to get started.
Oh,
It's going to take that action.
mm-hmm,
Action leads to clarity. You can read all the books you would like on swimming, on riding a bicycle, but you're not going to be able to do it until you physically do it. And it feels messy, it feels sloppy, but it all is. I mean, we all take imperfect action, right? One
yeah.
of my mentors, she talks about her first video was a janky video. And I'm like, that's exactly what all of us look like, a hot mess. The first time I recorded myself, I was physically shaking. Now I've spoken on stages in front of hundreds of people, and it'll transform you. You've, like we were talking about before, you have literally been brainwashed to believe that you're somebody you're not. You've been brainwashed to believe that what is inside of you does not matter, that you just have to suppress it and sacrifice, when really what you need to do is hone in on that passion and let it expand. What you're called to do is a much bigger purpose than anything that we've been told we're supposed to do it in order to be a part of society. Your passion, it's not going to fit a perfect cookie cutter. And that's a good thing. You just have to go and you have to move and take action. And the more you take action, I think about the Lord's path and how many different ways he's taken me. And I think, I thought for sure this is where I was supposed to be. Family practice was exactly that. And now
Mm-hmm.
I realize, hindsight, he took me there for a reason,
Right.
but it wasn't for the end goal. Your life is always evolving, it's always moving forward
Mhm.
if you allow it to be, because it's supposed to be a journey. Every single day is. So I would say just legitimately get started. However that looks for you, get started. And you'll end up being able to ride that bike up mountains. It'll end up going.
I love that. Such great advice. You don't have to be perfect to get started, but to do the work of improving toward perfection, you have to get started. That's just,
Exactly.
wow, incredible. Love that. Love that. So, Lauren, my goodness, just so many bits of wisdom and pure gold that you're dropping today. Thank you again
Oh,
for
thank you for
joining me
having
for
me.
this. What I'd like to do now is give you the next 3 minutes or so just to chat with our audience about how they can connect with you if they're interested in learning more about the Functional Medicine Institute and how they can connect with you. So the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Well, you can find us on, visit ifn.org. We are putting together a passive profits blueprint in functional medicine. So it's almost finished. Everyone who's on the mailing list will end up getting it sent to them. And we can get you the information there. We have a 48-hour CEU certification. You have to be at least a nurse or practitioner to be able to get the FIMP recognition, but we do have FIM-P recognition with that. We're looking at getting a second board recognition. And you also get an entire community of people. So that's the two things that really kind of set us apart is that one, you get a community, you speak with me. It's not a whole bunch of coaches. You literally get me. You can bring, if you're interested in the functional medicine part of it, you can bring like case studies to it and those type of things. And you can have one-on-one real-time mentorship for that.
nice.
We also, some of our nurses and practitioners, they're not just doing functional medicine, they're maybe teaching an array of anything at all. So it's all about kind of putting it on those passive systems so then you can have that freedom in your life. I truthfully believe that is, it's something that billions, hundreds, maybe, I guess I don't know the number. There's a ton of people who are tapping into that. And there's no reason why nurses should not as well.
Absolutely.
But we're going to be putting that together. And we also teach about like the business side of things and how to be able to put your passion on that passive income stream. So
I
visit ifn.org and it'll put you on the list to get more information.
Fantastic. So ifn.org. Oh my gosh.
Visit, yeah.
Well, yeah, this
Sorry,
has
visit, yeah.
been such such a wonderful interview, Lauren. I want to thank you again for joining me, for sharing time, and for sharing your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And for everybody who's been viewing, watching, or listening in, I want to thank you all for joining us here on the Nurse Entrepreneur Spotlight. We will see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.